Yeah, so I'd like to speak about breath as medicine, and in some way that's a fundamental breath work, right? A lot of people nowadays, over the past, let's say, 10 years, I feel like breath work has become quite popular, very popular, and that's amazing because it has so many levels that it offers us. You know, like the work that Wim Hof does. It's mind blowing. It's literally mind blowing because he is showing us in so many ways that the limitations that we believed the physical body has can actually be extended. Like we come closer to, let's call it most superhuman, which is actually innately becoming human again, unlocking our true potential as humans again, um, simply through the power of breathing, the power of simple things like ice bathing connected with breathing. And yeah, so breathing is very, very medicinal. Also, we touched upon that before, the impact that it has, like, or the mirror it is for the state of our nervous system, how our breath is. And so we, in any situation, have the ability to regulate our nervous system through changing our breath. Whatever you feel, whatever you are challenged with right now, whatever you do, whatever like is overwhelming you, whatever situation you're in, and you feel like maybe you even feel powerless, you know, you feel like you can't change anything about that because it's external or internal, and you feel like it's something that's yeah, just making you overwhelmed and powerless. Your breath will help you to like firsthand to just be in this moment and to be present, to not dissociate, to not like freeze, and simply bringing more awareness to the breath is such a powerful, powerful practice for healing. And then, you know, there's also a very beautiful perception with which I still quite recently have heard. And I really, really love this idea because, you know, we're humans. We live here on this earth, which is such a gift. Like, we have such a beautiful nature around us. We have all the elements, all the trees. We have like so much around us that is blessing us in every moment and every day. That is literally the base of our whole existence. Being here in this body, being in this earth body, in this earth system, earth ecosystem, earth, like this whole body of earth that we are part of. And this perception is that, you know, that breath is actually a plant medicine because, you know, we breathe a lot of oxygen, and this is a gift that the trees make us through the work of transmutation that they do, through taking in the CO2 and giving us out oxygen. Like, you know, it's like also showing so beautifully that relationship that we have with nature, that interconnectedness as an ecosystem, as the one body that we are with the Mother Earth, with this earth that we live on. And yeah, so that was like an encouragement to remember that breath, though it's invisible, though it's not touchable, is a plant medicine, is a medicine that we receive in this unification that we actually are. And yeah, as I was saying before, like that the breath is connecting us with everything around us, and I think that perception of that reminder of how the trees and the plants are actually working for us to even be able to breathe is such a beautiful kind of image to understand, to kind of take in this connectedness. Because, you know, I can imagine that for some people, when I said before that the breath that I breathe here in Germany is connected to the breath that somebody else breathes on the other side of the planet, might still sound very strange. even though we have we have this constant air movement, we have the clouds, we have the wind, the element of air is very, very in movement, is very cyclical. And we have this image, we can relate to this maybe even more easily with that understanding of the connectedness to the space around. And every place has a different air, we also have this expression of needing a breath of fresh air. And that again holds so much. It holds that understanding that in some way the energetic imprint of every place is different, and the air we breathe is different. The spirit, the way of how the different parts present in one place are interacting with each other and are communicating with each other and kind of co-creating that breath, that air, that spirit that is available to us. And that at times in our lives it might be very important to actually change our environment as well, to change our breath, because sometimes it's very easy when you're in an environment that you know very well and you behave in a certain way, and you find yourself struggling to actually stick to changing. For example, you do practice your breath, you do practice breathing more consciously, and yet you feel like there is something stuck, because that's also something very beautiful, that the breath is mirroring us. When we keep holding our breath, when we keep not breathing properly, when we keep holding our breath unconsciously, it can mirror us as well, that there is something where we keep getting stuck. And it's also the question of how can we bring movement again into our lives. And then there's this whole dimension of moving with breath consciously. Kind of jumping around here, am I? But I hope you can follow me, and I hope it's whole in its flow. And because now I'd like to speak about the relationship of movement and breath, because whatever movement practice you do, if it's weightlifting, calisthenics, yoga, kung fu, I don't know what you do, tennis, soccer, anything, the breath is fundamental. The breath is crucial, because when we cannot breathe, again, there is this nervous system response. There's a stressor, there is something in us that holds. Similar, different but similar. When people first engage with practicing cold showers or doing ice baths, it is crucial for them to breathe. And when you stop breathing, there is this rule of thumb, when you start doing cold showers and you notice that you hold your breath, that you can't keep breathing, then this is your limitation at this moment. This is where your nervous system are, and you will adapt over time. But it is really important to keep breathing. And in movement, it is important to keep breathing as well. It's when you cannot breathe, when you do a movement, this is a warning. This is so important, so fundamental, because it means that you actually cannot hold the intensity that you are going in. And that needs an alteration, because it needs to change into a practice where you can actually build up that breath, that expansion, that physical expansion, so that you can kind of continuously grow into holding that amount or moving in this intensity. And it does not mean that you can't challenge yourself, but it's just I really want to invite you to be aware of your breathing when you do any kind of movement practice. And I experience that a lot with people in classes, or that I work with in regards to Qigong and yoga, but even more in Qigong, because in Qigong everything is breath. It's all about the Qi. So every movement is tuned in, is harmonized with the breath, and that is essential. And similar but different in the yogic practice. Like when you do a sun salutation, like every step has a breath. And this is important because it's the energy that is flowing through you, and that's what we're cultivating. That's what we're working with. And that might be, when you cannot keep breathing, when you begin holding your breath in a physical practice, without that, not saying that when you do a pranayama, there is a kumbhaka that you shouldn't hold your breath, but when you do any kinds of sports or yoga, as I was just speaking about, and you find yourself holding your breath, it is not surprising that you will be exhausted afterwards, because it means that your life force, your energy has not been balanced with your movement. So you have been kind of using a different force to make yourself do this practice. And that is long term. If you do that over a long time, it will really, really drain your energy. It will really potentially make you sick. And whichever way your body will express that, if it's an injury or some kind of weird sickness, God knows. But there it's really important for our health. Again, that was what I was beginning to speak about in this section. To connect with our breath while moving through any kind of exercise. And now I'm also taking a breath and slowing down, because I've been kind of going on it right now. And I really want to allow this to sink in as well. There's so much about breath, and it's so essential. And with that, when I say it's so essential and warning and so on, it's not meant to be like you have to do anything, or it's not meant in a heavy way. It's just in a way of reminding myself and reminding you to just be present with ourselves, and to, it's also okay to forget about it, but then to remember, to come back to remembrance again and again, like coming back to our breath again and again, simply returning to the never-ceasing flow of breath. And that's opening to another dimension of the breath. It's opening to that dimension where meditation, we simply breathe. And with that breath, our state of mind is changing instantly. And whenever the current of thoughts that keeps coming is taking us away, the breath is simply bringing us back to what is here and now. Reminding us that there is nothing to do, nowhere to go, not even anything to let go of, because this thought is just coming and going on its own, like the clouds in the sky, moving and moving, riding the breath. And you're just here, breathing, being, tapping into the present. yourself. And that already is an instantaneous change of mind, of consciousness. And this is where breath is very healing for the mind as well, for the emotions, all of those energies that move within us. When we connect with our breath, the life energy within can calm them. They change, or not they change, they simply become what they are. And so do we simply become who we are. We expand into what is. And I just for 1 second want to kind of jump back to that topic of breath and movement, and want to just remind us here that, and it's not just movement, but it's also really in physical practice. Whenever we feel pain, whenever we feel stuckness, stagnation, something that's tight, that's challenging, if it's in our bodies or in our lives, send your breath there. And it can be very, very helpful to visualize that breath as a light, as a pure light, going exactly into this point that is experiencing this intensity. The breath is the opposite of dissociation. It is pure presence.